Hey, what's up, Fight Family? Contemplate Boxing. I just wanted to contemplate a little bit on last night's main event from the Zone. Uh, Gennady Triple G Golovkin versus Sergiy Derevyanchenko. Definitely a good fight. Both men came out, put on a good show, and just wanted to talk a little bit about what I saw, from both men. Now, I stated earlier that I was very curious how uh, the trainers of both fighters would actually play a part in this particular fight. Of course, we know Derevyanchenko had been with Andre Rozier for quite some time. There was, I think, maybe only one or two fights in which Rozier wasn't in Derevyanchenko's corner. There was one fight in which Rozier wasn't in Derevyanchenko's camp at all. And that was, of course, during the lead up and training and preparation to fight Daniel Jacobs because they both shared the same trainer. On the other side of that coin, however, you have Triple G Golovkin and his trainer, Jonathan Banks. This is only their second fight that they were together. And I don't think that it really was or is possible for Jonathan Banks to impart specific lessons to put into practice for Gennady Golovkin in only a two-fight span. It's been said before, when it comes to trainer and fighter, it takes quite some time for certain things to actually manifest with the fighter that the trainer is actually trying to impart upon them. So, with that being said, what I saw from Gennady Golovkin last night wasn't a whole lot of different. It wasn't real different from what I'm used to seeing from Gennady Golovkin. I didn't see him punch in combination as much as I would have liked to see him punch in combination. He was still largely kind of going one punch at a time. What I did also see, which I didn't like, for a little while, like his jab just wasn't present. It's something that I saw like in the first round. Derevyanchenko, he came out and he was pumping that jab from what I remember, and he was out jabbing Golovkin. I believe he out jabbed Golovkin throughout much of that night and much of that fight, as a matter of fact. And you don't see that happen very often with Gennady Golovkin. Derevyanchenko, he really took the fight to Gennady. He was backing Gennady up quite a bit throughout the night. He was giving Gennady Golovkin a lot of angles. He was turning them, spinning them, and just really throwing combinations, especially down to the body. We saw one point in particular where Sergiy Derevyanchenko hurt Gennady Golovkin to the body, and it was very obvious that Golovkin was hurt. You saw Golovkin very uncomfortable throughout that night with the work that Derevyanchenko was doing, and Derevyanchenko was doing some really good work. He stayed busy, stayed constant, and he tried his best to really kind of stay in Golovkin's chest because it has been shown over the years that Golovkin, while he is pretty good in mid-range, very talented mid-range, excellent at mid-range, when it comes to that toe-to-toe, when it comes to fighting on the inside, he does struggle with that a little bit. And Derevyanchenko definitely took advantage of that particular fact in Golovkin. And unfortunately, that is something that has not changed, yet at least, under the tutelage of Jonathan Banks. Again, those things I think just, it takes time and it takes more than two fights. But, congrats to both of these gentlemen for putting on a real good performance. I know a lot of fans really did not like the outcome when the judges read, or when the scorecards judges were read. During Gennady Golovkin's interview, you could hear quite a bit of booing. Gennady Golovkin's facial expression, his body language did kind of seem to acknowledge, that the fans were booing him as he was being interviewed. I think there's definitely, with anybody, there's room for improvement. Gennady Golovkin, if he wants to continue to remain relevant, he's going to have to fix some of these issues. Um, Head movement, being able to fight on the inside, throwing more in combination. He can't be starting slow like he may be used to doing. At 37 years old, these fights are only going to get harder. Um, He's now the IBF champ. Whether anybody agrees that he should be or not, he's the IBF champion. So you've got individuals like Sergiy Derevyanchenko. He's still there. He's 33. So he's about to hit, his peak as well. But right behind Sergiy Derevyanchenko, you got younger fighters, Jamal Charlo. You have Demetrius Andrade. And then you have some of the 154 pounders that are going to be moving up to 160 that are in the prime of their lives that are going to be bringing the fight to Gennady Golovkin as well. So Golovkin and Jonathan Banks, they definitely have a lot to kind of take a look at and review when it comes to this particular fight and how they're going to move forward. Another thing that, now that I'm thinking about it, that I noticed early in the fight, about round 5, Gennady Golovkin, he was tired. This is something actually that we also saw when in the second fight against Canelo. Very early, he started to gas and he started to tire. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. It really does kind of make me wonder a little bit in regards to how is Gennady taking care of himself in between fights, in between training camps. Now it's said that Gennady doesn't really come into training camp real heavy, and that's cool and everything. But I am still a little bit curious because as of late, that gas tank, has not seemed quite well. And if Golovkin is going to go forward and try to compete on such a high level for the remainder of his career, should he try to do like Bernard Hopkins and continue to try to compete into his 40s? I mean, he's got some work to do. He's definitely going to have to address that issue. One of the interesting things is, of course, we see Gennady Golovkin. He doesn't like taking punishment to the body. That's something that we saw with Sergey Kovalev. Sergey Kovalev, once he started getting touched to the body, he really didn't deal with it too well. So it makes me kind of wonder, between these two gentlemen, both individuals that at one time were huge threats in their division. They were just crushing people. They were destroying people. The Crusher, Kazakh Thunder. And they were just kind of running through their competition, but they both have kind of hit this point to where they're both very vulnerable and they both seem to have some of the same kryptonite that, work downstairs to the body. We saw that a little bit in the second Canelo fight. We saw it last night against Sergiy Derevyanchenko. So I'm very interested to see how Gennady Golovkin and Jonathan Banks move forward in trying to strengthen that particular weakness. In regards to Sergiy Derevyanchenko, again, man, congrats to both men on fighting a great fight, especially Sergiy Derevyanchenko. I know he doesn't agree with the decision. I did see on his Instagram earlier this morning, he does believe he won that fight, and he definitely has a great case. Great case. There are a lot of fans that agree with him. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Sergey moves forward in his career. I think hopefully if he gets this rematch, I think that he'll continue to put on great performances. I believe he can put on great performances against any of the top 10 in the division. I believe he can even defeat, a lot of guys, within the top 10, top 5. He showed that I think he has that ability last night. But anyhow, hope everybody really enjoyed the fights last night, the entire card. Hope everybody has been doing well. Hey, peace. God bless. Hope y'all take it easy.